And good morning, evening, or afternoon, depending on what part of the globe you are on and what time zone you are in. I am Skeptically Speaking.
And I'm Sweet Pea from across the pond.
Today's show brought to you by sparkling water, bubble tea, and New Amsterdam vodka. How are you doing, Sweet Pea?
I'm doing okay. I got a little bit of a bad back today, so we're going to be standing up for a little while whilst sitting down. So we're going to. How are you doing today?
I'm okay. Just hanging in there, showing up to do yet another show. Yes! We've got lots to talk about. Some good news, some bad news, and tragic news. But
Okay.
we will get through it. If you'd like more independent media in your life and in front of your face, in your ears, and in front of your eyes, please consider us. Please consider supporting the show via Cash App, Venmo, or become a patron subscriber. We'd more than love to have your assistance. We'd love to be your independent media, as independent media is on the rise. Also, you can find us on all the social media apps, just about. You've already discovered us on YouTube. You can also find us on TikTok, Bluesky, Discord, Instagram, Threads, Facebook, Kick, Rumble, Twitch, Twitter, and Substack. And away we go. I wanted to start out with the announcement that just hit me this afternoon, the tragic death of one Robert Redford. He passed just yesterday. He was 89 years old. And he will be missed. He
Definitely.
wasn't just a good actor, he was a good human being. He put his money where his mouth is. He is solely responsible for a lot of independent films being seen in the light of day. I mean, there are multiple films that we wouldn't even know about. We would not even know about were it not for Robert Redford and his Sundance Film Festival. And he always made sure that he didn't just showcase anything. He wanted to have an impact, whether it be environmental, politically. He wanted to make sure that films worth seeing actually, got to see the light of day. This is Robert Redford next to a cutout of Paul Newman as Butch Cassidy. And just to show you how close friends that they were, only a true friend could get away with a joke like that. Basically showing Paul Newman as very small and short while he towers over him. It's inside joke, but yeah, it's amazing to me. And here's a early role. He was in the Twilight Zone. He did a episode called Nothing in the Dark. Basically, he plays death itself as a person. And I saw a few clips of the episode, and I was pretty blown away by the writing, by the dialogue, by the, it was, wow. Twilight Zone, I might have to give it a consideration and actually sit down and watch the entire show. But
Oh, you'll enjoy the Twilight Zone. I was a big watcher of the Twilight Zone, and he played that role phenomenally. Very believable, and
yeah,
he brought it all to life.
yeah.
You will enjoy.
Unfortunately, no one will ever look cooler than Robert Redford playing ping pong with Paul Newman. I mean, no lies told there.
No.
You talk about two gifted human beings that, they had a heart for the downtrodden. So Paul Newman, any of you who know, he has a foundation for kids that are suffering from a debilitating disease. I cannot think of the disease off the top of my head. But he literally started Newman's Own, the ranch dressing that branched off into different things. And he used the proceeds of that to fund. He basically started the Hole in the Wall camp, which is a play on the words of the Hole in the Wall gang, which was from Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. And his charity, his foundation, so you've got the Sundance Film Festival, which helps struggling actors and directors and writers on independent films. You've got him, and then you've got Paul Newman, who is reaching out to kids who have, a debilitating disease. Sorry, I can't think of it off. I'm just drawing a blank. But and not to say that they didn't have their faults, and they didn't. I mean, no one's saying that these were perfect angels. Absolutely not. But the fact is, they were beloved. They were good human beings, even though they were superstars of their time. But of the both of them, Robert Redford just seemed to have that quiet strength, that dignity, and Paul Newman was just he was just a fun-loving. He liked to party and things like that, and enjoyed life. This is the Sundance Film Festival release. We are deeply saddened by the loss of our founder and friend, Robert Redford. Bob's vision of a space and platform for independent voices launched a movement that, over 4 decades later, has inspired generations of artists and redefined cinema in the U.S. and around the world. Beyond his enormous contributions to culture at large, we will miss his generosity, clarity of purpose, curiosity, rebellious spirit, and his love for the creative process. We are humbled to be among the stewards of his remarkable legacy, which will continue to guide the Institute in perpetuity. I really hope the Sundance Film Festival lives up to Robert Redford's ideals. I really hope. So many of these institutions, they just go off. It's like they forget their mission, and it just becomes a money-making scheme. I mean, obviously you need money, but when it becomes the sole reason of existence, I mean, a lot of things get, well, anyway, I just hope that it continues. And so Morgan Freeman released a tribute. He was in a couple of movies with Robert Redford, and I think Robert Redford is just a little older than Morgan Freeman. But Morgan Freeman, I think, is in his 80s as well, so he's not too far behind. But they worked together in 1980, and again in an Unfinished Life, which is a movie I haven't seen yet, but I did see Brubaker, which was a tough to watch film about how the deplorable conditions within the prison system in the Deep South. It was gross. But anyway, but apparently there were a lot of death squads activity going on in this prison where they would kill inmates who they deemed as troublemakers, and then they buried them in unmarked graves. And that's one of the scenes that sticks out in my head, is them looking for these bodies and trying to get them processed so their families are notified. And they, because I mean, their families, they knew what was going on, but they couldn't prove it. But anyway, it was a good story. So let's put that away. This ties into my next point. A lot of people, especially on the right, that are giving accolades, that are giving kudos and their condolences to Robert Redford are the very same people that he fought against. One of the quotes from Robert Redford, and I say good show, he says, "It's time for Trump to go, along with those in Congress who have chosen party loyalty over their oath to solemnly affirm their support for the Constitution of the United States, and it's up to us to make that happen through the power of our votes." Yeah, I think Robert Redford just got tired. He was just like, this is not the America I grew up in. This is not, I mean, it's just like we're slouching towards fascism. So it's like, I don't blame you. I'm surprised Dick Van Dyke is still hanging around. After the Trump re-election, I'm like, it won't be long. Dick Van Dyke is, I don't know.
Oh
It's
no,
like,
please.
it's like, yeah, it's gonna be a sad day, especially when Dick goes. But yeah, here's an even longer quote. Robert Redford on Donald Trump. "It is painfully clear we have a president who degrades everything he touches, a person who does not understand or care that his duty is to defend our democracy, our shared tolerance and respect for the truth, our sacred rule of law, our essential freedom for the press, and our precious freedom of speech. All have been threatened by a single man. Trump and his billionaire buddies want to take us back to the days of a political spoil system." That's putting it lightly. "That served corporate robber barons and left our kids to pay the price." Yes, a lot of the films that Robert Redford did were period pieces that showcased a lot of suffering and downtrodden, um, the masses. I mean, they weren't just fun movies. It showcased the struggle, and I fear that we've missed a lot of the point that was put in these films that he did. It's like this isn't just entertainment; it has a message. So Robert Redford just, I mean, he
Okay.
wanted to show a message to people, and it's like I think we missed it. You know, it's so sad.
I've spent most of my life just focused on the road ahead. I've not looking back. But now tonight, I'm seeing in the rearview mirror that there's something I've not thought about much, called history. And what moves me tonight is that I'm being joined by colleagues and peers to reflect on that history. Now, there really are only two areas. One is my personal work, which is the most important to me. And the other is trying to put something back into an industry that's been good to me. And of course, Sundance is a manifestation of that. And the result, well, a grand collaboration of artists and colleagues who have joined to support and help give a voice to new artists. I really believe it's going to be important in the years to come to make sure that we embrace the risks as well as the sure things, to make sure that freedom of artistic expression is nurtured and kept alive. Because I believe that in keeping diversity alive, it'll help keep our industry alive. And I think the glory of art is that it can not only survive change, but can lead it. As an artist, I just can't think of a better life than the one that I've been blessed with.
All right, so there it is. I mean, I think basically he covered all the main points, and I think Robert Redford lived up to his legacy. He lived up to the hype. He lived up to, all the fanfare and the people, giving him accolades and singing his praises. I think he did just that. And his legacy is going to live on. there's a lot of art. Do you have anything to add?
Yes, I was going to say, you should check out the film he done, The Man Who Talked to the Horses.
Oh, Horse Whisperer. As a matter of fact, I ran across it
I don't.
on
Yeah.
Netflix. I think it's on Netflix now.
Oh, is it? I haven't seen it for many years, but I think it's called The Man Who Could Talk to Horses. I'm not sure. It's been many years since I've seen it, but
Yeah, Horse
he
Whisperer.
done, yeah, done a phenomenal job.
That was one of Scarlett Johansson's first roles that she took. But it's what a career, what a legacy. Well, that's the tragic news. Now the bad news slash good news slash it's still bad. So I really didn't know what to call. I really didn't know what to call this episode. And the only thing that came to me was Attack on Black. Anything to do with black culture, black people, black anything. I can only call what this is in this country, this slouch, first a slouch and then a straight descent into fascism. With, you've got, the loudmouth Charlie Kirk running around showing his ass. So I just called it an Attack on Black. Now, here's where it gets confusing. The first news that I was starting to see was that Donald Trump was going to start moving to defund HBCU or SBCUs. Sorry, I'm butchering that again. Let me try again. HBCU. Sorry, I don't know why it's so hard. Basically, the HBCU stands for historically black colleges and universities. These universities, you got these racist white asses that they can't think past their own dicks, which is definitely not thinking too far ahead. You got these morons running around saying, well, how come they get to be racist? Why is it black only? And it's like, if you just looked up the history of HBCU and why they were necessary in the first place. The first HBCUs that we see got started before the Civil War in like 1851, I think, where they were all black colleges because they were not allowed into white colleges. That's where we get Howard University. That was started in, I think, 1867. I think that's in Washington, D.C. And there are a few other HBCUs like this. But this is where HBCU gets its name from. The term didn't get coined until maybe the 1960s. The term was created by the Higher Education Act of 1965, which expanded federal funding for colleges and universities. See, so at this time, before 1965, these colleges were not funded by federal dollars. All the other colleges, Yale and whatever, I almost said Princeton, but all of these big time pedigree colleges, these super elite colleges, they get all the funding. They got all the funding, and then you got these state colleges that get federal dollars. And it wasn't until 1965 that these HBCUs were allowed federal funding as well. And this is all because of racism. The very reason they exist in the first place is because the blatant racism and white supremacy in this country. All men are created equal except every single one of you over there. That's it in a nutshell. So, whenever your racist aunt or uncle or parents start complaining about predominantly black colleges and universities, throw this history in their face. Let them know, number one, they got started, many of them, before the Civil War and shortly after. And two, the reason they got started is because they were not being allowed into white colleges and universities. Go ahead.
So I do have some fun. Well, it's not fun. That's not the appropriate word. I do have some true facts from history that not many people know about, which I think that they need to Google and learn. But do you know who the first black person in a white school was?
I don't know the name off the top of my head, but I think I recall this story. Go ahead.
So her name was Ruby Neal Bridges Hall, and she was born September 8th, 1954, and it was during the American Civil Rights activism that she attended. That she attended an elementary school in Louisiana during the segregation crisis in 1960.
Yeah. And what is wild about that story is she was going to school.
She was 6 years old.
6 years old, getting death threats screamed at her as she's walking up the steps to her school. I mean, just shameful. Absolutely shameful.
It
and
is.
She's still alive to this day. She's not that old.
Yeah.
I think she's just barely in her 70s now. But yeah, she remembers growing up and just the disassociation that it caused. It's like her mind could barely process the hate and vitriol. It got to the point where she was only wanting to eat processed foods because she was afraid of getting poisoned. So she wanted processed packaged foods, and she wouldn't even eat her lunch that was sent with her because of that. Now, I say that to say this. So Trump has cut millions in grants for predominantly black institutions and then diverts funds to HBCUs. So this is a double-edged sword cutting both ways. So he originally wanted to cut funding, but then his stupid big bullshit big beautiful bill starts diverting certain funds to HBCUs. So the problem with this is federal dollars were going to struggling institutions that were not considered elite colleges. You have to understand, most HBCUs are considered premier prestigious colleges that you have to have money, you have to have means to get in. Whereas these lower institutions that are, I shouldn't say lower, but they're less prestigious, they don't require all the money that it would take to go to these other colleges, their money is getting cut, but the HBCUs are going to get some money. It's crazy. This is the chaos that this president has brought, all because, and I'm going to keep pounding the fucking desk until we get this through our heads. This is because, and we're seeing this because of the racism of white Democrats that would not go to the polls. They would not vote for the black woman, and we are here now. So I'm going to keep bringing that up every time the Trump administration is brought up, because it's like, I'm not going to blame MAGA for this. Trump didn't all of a sudden get millions more votes. He got some, but no. What tipped him over the edge is white Democrats who did not participate. That is why we are here. We would not even be having this conversation if the black woman who is more than qualified had gotten elected. If Kamala Harris had been duly elected by white Dems who should know better, claim to be more educated, claim to be more better than MAGA, I'll say this. You fucking white Dems who did not vote for the black lady, you are no better than MAGA. You're getting both barrels. MAGA can get one, you can get two. We're here because of white Dems would not do the right thing. I don't care how that makes you feel. I don't care if that pisses you off. Fuck you. And I said this on camera. I said this to Sade Perkins. I said, I will be taking screenshots of my ballot from now on. I will not ever be questioned where I stood. That's just not going to be a thing. I don't care. They're going to know where I stood after the election. And we need to start holding our own accountable. We need to start holding ourselves accountable. White Dems, I'm talking to you. The ones who claim to be enlightened, who know better, right? You're no better than MAGA. If you couldn't even get your ass to the polls when we are literally on the brink of a fascist takeover. You know, and we're allies, we're on your side, we understand your struggle. Fuck you. You couldn't even get to the polls. You couldn't even do that much. I swear to fucking God, since when does Donald Trump or any Republican ever get a consideration? I would have voted for the wheelchair of fucking FDR before I ever throw a ballot for a Republican. Why the fuck is Donald Trump even a consideration at this point for anybody? For any reasonable, sane person? That's where I'm at. So, while the move is seemingly great for HBCUs, MSI designated colleges and universities that educate millions of Black, Hispanic, and Asian and Native Americans will lose critical funding. So you've got these smaller organizations that educate not just Black people, but Hispanic and Asian natives. They're losing money. Last week, Education Secretary Linda McMahon announced that the Department of Education was cutting $350 million in grants to MSIs, citing that they meet racial or ethnic quotas. What the fuck does that have anything to do with anything? The Trump administration has federally banned all programs it considers to be diverse, equity, inclusion, DEI, and has threatened to withhold any federal dollars for schools that do not comply with anti-DEI executive orders signed by President Donald Trump. So for all of you protest voters, there's what you get for withholding your vote. This is what we have done. And we're going to watch a few videos. We're not out of the woods. We're going to watch a few videos of people that are just like, why the fuck am I even here? You guys are telling me you don't want me here. You don't value my life. You don't even value my existence. Why should I even stay in this country? Discrimination based upon race or ethnicity has no place in the United States. Yeah. Secretary McMahon said in announcing the cuts to MSIs. Right. Speaking, this is double speak. This is new speak, Orwellian fucking absolutely bizarre. speaking out of both sides of her mouth. Discrimination based on race or ethnicity has no place in the United States, and then you're cutting their funding. Diversity is not merely the presence of skin color. Stereotyping an individual based on immutable characteristics, diminishing the full picture of the person's life contributions, including their character, resiliency, or merit. That is exactly what these fucking fascists are doing. Diminishing people's character and their contributions based on skin color. That is exactly what they're doing. That is exactly why they're banning books, especially by black authors, or about black people. They want them erased from history. I'm not even going to read any more of this blithering idiocy. I don't care what McMahon has to say. She's a moron. Let's say you're so this is somebody who works within the system says, let's say you're a student in Chicago and the state of Illinois doesn't have any HBCUs. Most of the North doesn't. For students who are going to stay close to home, for students who want an in-state tuition, for students who cannot afford some of your HBCUs or can't take out those student loans, a PBI, those are the schools that will be at the highest risk. We know a lot of university buildings are unfortunately falling apart. Dilapidated classrooms, student services, tutoring, and all those things will not be available due to these cuts. There you go. Attacking black. Well, this is going to backfire extremely, because this is going to blow back in white faces. Let it be known. This is going to come back to haunt us. Go ahead.
So, of course it is. By Trump letting Doge loose and cutting, terminating 89 contracts totaling in 881 million for, and it also, with that, Doge cut the 29 diversity, equity and inclusion training. So that is not only going to affect minorities, that's going to affect everyone, and they don't seem to realise that. They also axed the institution education of science, part of the educational department of the IES, and nearly 170 contracts that were terminated. And what Trump and his cronies don't seem to realise, those science education places were furthering the study of things that help us currently today. So by cutting funding for that, that's putting science back a little bit. I don't think they understand like the cause and effect.
Oh, they understand.
They do understand.
Perfectly. They don't
care. They just don't care. They don't care.
Right. It's like the farmers, the people who voted for Trump, voted for MAGA, voted for Doge, voted for tariffs, and are now on the brink of destruction. They are losing their farms, literally on the brink of losing their farms. And guess who's going to be buying up those farms? Mega corporations. Hedge funds. This was the plan, to get rid of the small farmer. Again, going back to what you were saying, what does this mean? Getting rid of all of this science? Well, guess who's going to be able to afford to control the science? Corporations.
Billionaires.
The billionaire.
Yeah, and corporations.
Billionaire class. Yeah. Exactly. This is.
Yeah, and it's
a through line.
It's not
it's just
boding well. It is. This is another way for Trump and his administration are able to keep their voters uneducated, uninformed, and under the thumb. And they don't seem to realise that by losing all of these fundamental things that are supposed to benefit everybody to help us grow more sort of educated as a society, they're dooming us all to a sort of idiocracy future by letting them defund and cut all these important things that are meant to educate everyone.
We're making Idiocracy into a documentary. That was not a playbook. That was a warning.
That was a warning. I'm pretty sure that was a warning. I foresee in the future loads of, Trump acolytes sort of coining the phrase, Brondo, it's what plants crave. And I'm like, not saying that to be,
It's the truth.
It's because of how stupid they are. And they are allowing this. They are allowing Trump and his administration to dumb people down.
Let's listen to...
into becoming sheep.
Let's listen to somebody who is basically warning of...
Okay.
I really don't know what to call this, a great migration out of this country. We're going to be experiencing a brain drain pretty soon. Watch this space.
I'm trying to calm down before I post this, but it's difficult, right? Because it popped up on my For You page. I saw it. It had 3 million likes. It had 3 million likes. Go watch that bullshit video on the Daily Wire. They said this is the response to CK's murder, and then this was the response to George Floyd's murder, right? And they show all the riots and the stuff that happened after George Floyd was murdered, and then they show students and people holding hands and praying and shit after. And then there's 3 million likes, and people in the comments are like, and this is why Republicans are the party of love and the liberals. CK was shot and killed by somebody who thought that he wasn't conservative enough. White on white crime. George Floyd was wrongfully murdered by a police officer.
Executed brutally, by the way.
Something that we have seen happen to black people time and time and time and time again. So when that bullshit happens over and over and over again, I'm sorry if they would rather go out and burn shit to the fucking ground instead of hold hands and pray for a better life. I cannot believe that the Daily Wire makes such a dumbass comparison. And then millions of people agree with it as if those situations were the same, as if George Floyd's life was taken the same way. I ain't never contemplated leaving America as much as I have this week alone, because what the fuck are y'all doing? Is this America? Is this the American citizens? Is this what this country says is okay, advocates for, stands by? If so, then I genuinely don't belong here. How the fuck do you compare the way that George Floyd left this earth to the way that CK left this earth? What the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck are we doing? I don't even know who I can go outside and be cool with no more. Because I don't know what fucking side you're on about this.
He's talking about white people. He doesn't know which white people he can trust. He's not saying it, but I'll say it. He can't trust us anymore. Because when you look at the statistics, when you look at the voter exit polling, we showed our asses, did we not? We showed that we were not on the side of Black America.
These events and shit. They talking about why are people rioting in the streets after a cop held his knee on George Floyd's neck for so fucking long that he died. Why couldn't they just come together and pray for better days after some...
And then they want to say, oh, well, that was drugs related. He had drugs in his system. Which turned out to be an absolute fucking lie.
Yeah, and even if he had drugs in his system, that is not an excuse. Or
that's not a
any
death
type
sentence. That is
No,
not a
exactly.
death. There is no law in the books that says you have to be executed because you were found with drugs.
Exactly.
He was fucking lynched by the police.
Yeah.
Let's call it what it is. That was a lynching we saw.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
It
he
was
felt
horrific.
comfortable doing it. He felt he was protected. Nobody was going to come and stop him. That's why he was so...
They shot Tamir.
That's why they were so comfortable. That's why he was so comfortable just sitting there relaxed, suffocating that man. Tamir Rice, he just mentioned him. That was a child with a toy gun in his hand. When the police were called, before the vehicle even came to a stop, that boy was shot dead by those maniac cops. They were shooting before the cop car even came to a stop. Let's keep it 100. I saw the video footage.
Rice, because they thought the little toy gun he had was real. A kid. They shot Tamir Rice. Trayvon Martin, Breonna Taylor. How many names do I need to fucking name? How many times has a political mascot been murdered in this way? How many times? Does it happen over and over and over and over and over a fucking again? And every time it fucking happens, do they just say, oh, it's just the shooter doing his job? Maybe if the political commentator hadn't resisted, all that force wouldn't have been necessary. Do they say that? No. But when people that look like me lose their life to racist ass cops hiding behind a fucking badge, so many times the motherfuckers say, well, y'all ain't hearing my thoughts and prayers and words and shit, so let me just go outside and burn all this shit to the fucking ground. Y'all gonna try to compare? Y'all gonna try to compare the two? People been commenting, talking about some, oh, you seem upset, you need to take a mental health day. My mental is fine. My mental is straight. My mental is solid. I'm sane. I am rightfully pissed off, and I don't feel bad about expressing it.
I think the insanity is trying to justify this happening. That's the insanity. That's the insane part. Is trying to say that trying to think that this is normal, that what we're seeing is normal. That is what drives sane people crazy. I mean, and then they gaslight us. Well, you're just being angry. Or gaslight him. Oh, you're just too angry. You're just too angry.
No, how about
they've been making fun of George Floyd for the last 5 motherfucking years, dude. Oh, well, CK had kids in the family. So did George. So did Breonna. So did Tamir. So did Trayvon. Just why does their tragedy not matter? Those same people in that fucking video on the Daily Wire's profile right now, holding hands on the campus or wherever the fuck, praying and shit. Did they do that same bullshit? Did they do that? I say bullshit because in that sense, I feel like the prayer is fake. You ain't pray for all the kids that lost their life at them mass shootings. You ain't pray that police stop fucking killing black people. You ain't pray for none of that.
Yeah, that's amazing. Where are all the prayer vigils for unarmed black people getting murdered by the police or horrifically beaten to the point where they're paralyzed or disfigured or maimed or what the fuck? Where are the prayer vigils for that? I ask. Disrespectfully as possible.
You ain't prayed at them children in Gaza. You ain't pray for them. Y'all, don't comment no bullshit. take a day off. Just go work on your mental. I'm here, I'm sane, I'm fine, and I'm pissed off. Rightfully so.
Let's watch that abomination. I don't even want to play the sound on this video. In fact, I'm going to mute it. It's just the blatant disrespect of this video. Oh, shut up. Amazing grace. Where the fuck is the volume? All right, mute. We're done. I'm not listening to that shit. Watch this shit. Response to Charlie Kirk, response to George Floyd. By the way, this is not a response to George Floyd. This is in response to how the police treated the protesters that were there. The protesters were peaceful until the thug gangs known as the cops showed up and started busting skulls and shoving people around. That is when it... Oh, and let's not forget the outside agitators that were dressed in blackface. Oh, we saw them. We saw them. White kids dressed in blackface trying to burn shit down and were caught on camera and told to stop. You're not doing that here. You're not part of us. You put the spray paint away. Take your matches. Get the fuck out of here. I saw that shit. Let's just watch this. But yeah, and so, right. And this is gaslighting 101. This is gaslighting 101. Notice how they're not talking about the HBCUs getting targeted. Bomb threats were called in response to Charlie Kirk getting shot. Notice how Charlie Kirk fans, the Kirk, how do we call them? The Caucasians. Notice how they knew exactly who to target. Notice how they knew exactly who to go after when this went down. HBCUs, what the fuck do they have anything to do with this? Go ahead.
I've been calling them Kirklites.
Kirklites, Caucasians, yeah. Oh, yeah. But
I just sent you a list of names.
look at this abomination. Yeah.
I remember our lives.
Oh yeah, did
Horrific.
you see all of that gas that was just in the air?
Yes, I did.
I'm like,
Yeah.
who set that off? That was done by the maniac cops. It wasn't the protesters.
All the protesters were standing there peacefully with their lit candles in silent sort of.
You know what this is an example of? This is the example of how police react to white people and black people. Right there. There's your prime example. This is why black people have said, we're not coming to your protests anymore, white people. You go ahead and have yourself a good time. We're keeping our black ass home because we're sick and tired of being targets by the maniac cops. They said this. We're going to mind our own business. We're going to stay home. We'll watch on our phones, but you go ahead and you protest. We're not going to be the targets anymore. We're not going to be the scapegoats. We're not going to be, we're not going to have any of that. And who can blame them? They get beat up, and do white people have their backs? Have you noticed that when predominantly white protests happen, the cops are more chill? Have you noticed that? All of these anti-Trump protests. Why is that? Why is it when it's mostly black people, the cops come in with batons and they just start beating people over the head? They start pushing people around, pushing people to the side of the street, pushing them down on the street, cracking their skulls open. That's, my God. Yeah, we are all Charlie. Yeah, you're all racist as fuck, is what you are. We know. We understood. We see you. Brought to you by the Daily Wire. As you can tell, I'm very slightly unhinged. But this is pissing me off. Let's watch another video. We're getting left behind. Yeah.
Harriet Tubman left people behind. She had to. Not everybody wanted freedom. Some people were so married to the plantation they'd fight you before they fought their master. And when I see all these Voldemort sympathizers crying and clutching their pearls, that's the same energy. Y'all ain't freedom fighters. Y'all are the Overseer's fan club. Harriet didn't waste time dragging the unwilling. She knew that if you hesitate, you were going to put the whole mission at risk. You're going to slow down everybody that's trying to get free. And that's exactly what I am watching today. People pretending that Voldemort was just political views. But that can't be accurate because political views are about taxes, about policy, about what size the government should be. But what he pushed was hate. I'm not going to do the whole recap. We all know who he was. But I say all that to say that's not politics. And now we got people out here sobbing for him, defending him, writing think pieces like he was some misunderstood uncle. Please, he showed you who he was every single chance he got. And if you're still crying, it's because you agreed with the hate. You weren't blinded, you were just comfortable with the plantation. And here's what makes it worse, because your tears don't just make you look pathetic. They feed the system. They keep authoritarianism breathing. Every time you say he was just sharing his beliefs, what you're really saying is, I don't care who gets hurt, as long as I can stay close to power. I observe more than I speak, usually. And what I'm seeing right now? A lineup of Z-list actors auditioning for parts that no one asked them to play, crying for a man that wouldn't have spit on them if they were.
I love this phrase, this turn of phrase, the Z-list actors. Basically, bottom of the barrel people who are trying to play roles that nobody asked them to play. That is a perfect, I love the phrasing of that. People who are trying to become the next Charlie Kirk, if not outdo or out Charlie Kirk. Isn't that wild?
On fire. You think that's loyalty? You think that's being a good Christian? All that is self-inflicted chains. That's begging to sit at the Overseer's table and be grateful for scraps. So no, I am not mourning Voldemort. I'm not shedding a tear for a man who built his entire brand on tearing us down. What I am doing is thanking his little fan club. Because every time y'all expose yourselves, every time you choose the cage, you clear space on the railroad for somebody who actually wants to be free.
I think her comments are more directed towards black people who are standing for Charlie Kirk and Caucasianism. We'll just call it that, for the lack of a better word. And they're going above and beyond, trying to say, "Hey, we're not like those other black people. We're with the party of law and order and blah 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 blah." It's like, yeah, these people, and she's right. These white MAGAs hate the black community. And if you're gay on top of it, oh, they hate you even more. There's a video of a Trump rally. Nothing but Trump supporters there. And a black man who is MAGA, but also gay, was being roasted, being just reviled, slurs being thrown at him while he's videoing this interaction. He's like, hey, guys, we're all on the same team here, aren't we? Yeah, come on now, let's have, it's like, you have not gotten it yet, my guy. They do not care. They hate your very existence. They want a white America. How fucking clear can they get? They're literally on a bullhorn saying we want a white America. Make America great again, when it was predominantly white, with white people in power, and all of the other racial minorities they get to play subservient roles. That is the only way you get to fit into the scheme. They're telling you, and they're literally blaring it out. Let's finish the rest.
Harriet understood it, and so do I. Freedom ain't for everybody. Some of y'all would rather die clutching your master's hand than to live free. And that, yeah, that's on you.
Basically, Steven on Django. Now, here is another example of supposed white Democrats showing their bare fucking ass. And we're going to play 2 more videos and then end the show there. But here we go. This is Dean Withers. If you don't know Dean Withers, he was a big-time TikTok personality. He was probably the top tier #1 most viewed TikToker on the Democrat side. But come to find out, not too long ago, he was MAGA, sporting a MAGA hat. And then he jumps over to the Democrat side and starts, standing for Democrats and arguing and trying to argue against Trumpism. And then with the death of Charlie Kirk, we're finally finding out, Dean Withers may have always been a right-winger the entire time. He was just hiding it. Here's Dean Withers showing his ass in front of everyone.
Kid, I actually think Dean is more likely to one day become more conservative.
Don't make that line be one between the left and right.
I'm sorry, say that again one more time. Charlie, what did you say about Dean?
Kid, I actually think Dean is more likely to one day become more conservative.
Don't make that line be one between the left and right. Because if you do make that line fall between the left and right, I will side with the right. This is not about party lines. So don't fucking make it about party lines.
Thank you, Dean. Thank you for showing us all who and what you were the entire time. Yeah. I've unfollowed Dean, Good Trouble, Harry, whatever his name is, and then there was one other guy. There was 4 of them. And I'm like, why are we giving them our energy? Why are we giving them our views? Why are we giving them our support? Now, I'm happy to say I didn't send a dime to any of them, but then again, views kind of translate into dimes. So I will not participate in their content. They are MAGA in sheep's clothing. They're not for us. They are not for democracy. They're in it for themselves. And they sort of enrich themselves. I mean, I'm not saying that they're drowning in money, but you notice they were following Charlie Kirk around. They decided, hey, we can make a bag if we follow Charlie Kirk and show up at his debates, and we can get clicks and views and likes, and people can send cash to us. This was just a money scheme for these people. Democracy is on the line. We are on the brink of fascism. This is not a game. This is not a spectator sport. And that is what these chuckle fucks are doing. No, I will make a stand. I will not give them any of my time. My time is too valuable. It is. I'm not going to give it to the likes of these guys. Fuck them. Last video. The worship of white supremacy.
Charlie Kirk's form of Christianity is a...
Okay, yes, we played this last week on the show. Or, I'm sorry, yesterday. Yeah.
Yesterday.
This is how, I tell you, this is how a day is like a week to me. We played this on yesterday's show and it'll get posted. But I tell you what, a day is a week. That is how time is just dragging. It's like a week has gone by and it's been a day. Fascism is exhausting.
Understandable. It is exhausting. It is a complete brain drain. It is emotionally, mentally, physically draining. Racism is draining. I'm tired. I don't know about you, but I'm tired of all the racism. I am so tired of it.
I think I'm more exhausted by the hidden racism, the implied racism on our
Yeah,
side of the on our side of the aisle,
yeah.
as opposed
Especially,
to MAGA.
yeah, especially the supposed white allies.
Oh yeah,
I
I got a blue bracelet on. I got a blue
sickening.
bracelet on. Of course, I'm on your side. I even
Shove
bought.
that performative blue
I've got a
piece of
black.
shit up your ass.
I've got a Black Lives Matter T-shirt. Of course, I'm on your side. And then when it comes to voting, you're nowhere to be found. When it comes to
Exactly.
advocating for actual people that will affect change, you're nowhere to be found.
No, it
And
is
this is why
all
black people are
performative bullshit.
right. This is why black people are taking a step back. They're like, you know what?
And I can't blame
You
him.
don't want
I can't
us.
blame him.
Obviously, you don't want us in your spaces. You barely tolerate us. And they're not talking about MAGA. They're talking about white Dems who claim to be on the right side of
Yeah.
history.
Mhm.
It's like, okay, well, you don't want us, then fuck you. We're out. Bye. We'll do
I
our
can't
own
blame
thing.
them. I
Black
think
men, black women showed what side they were on. They were 10 toes down, and they showed who and what they are. And then white Dems are like, oh, I don't know. I mean,
they
Kamala
about
Harris.
it.
Kamala Harris didn't talk about my favorite issue. I didn't hear her say anything about that. It's like, motherfucker, the fuck?
If they had paid any attention to what Kamala had actually said, they would realise, yeah, she did talk about the issues that needed to be fucking talked about.
Yeah, she did.
And they should have fucking pulled their fingers out of their fucking stupid, useless asses and gone out and fucking supported her instead of fucking hiding behind their fucking stupid security blankets at home.
Well, here we are. So
Sorry,
I guess so. The black community is waiting for the white community to extract their heads out of their collective asses, and until we do, don't expect they're not going to come to the rescue. They're in survival mode. They're in self-preservation mode right now, and we're going to be talking about a story so horrific. We'll be talking about it next week, but they're getting tired of this shit. Real quickly, go ahead.
Can I just want to say something really quickly? It is not up to black people to get us out of this mess. White people fucked it up. It is up to white people to fix this fucking shit.
There it is. You know, people are like, talking to black people. Well, what can we do? What should we do? Fuck, you figure it out. We figure it out. Are you nuts?
No, exactly.
Unserious people. Anyway, with that being said, we want to thank you for tuning into the show. If you've made it this far, we thank you so much. We appreciate your viewership. Please consider supporting us via Cash App, Venmo, or become a Patreon subscriber. We could sure use your help. We'd love to be your independent media of choice. Thank you so much for tuning in, not tuning out, and we'll see you all on the next show.
Yes, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. Please check out our links in our descriptions, and we appreciate you all.
With that being said, take care.